Good evening, it's 8 o'clock. The top headlines today. In a landmark judgment, the Supreme Court orders the government must pay compensation for COVID deaths. The Supreme Court's tough order overrules what the centre was saying. The centre had argued that compensation should only be for natural calamities. The centre said the COVID pandemic is like no other. Also, the Supreme Court said the compensation amount must be decided by the National Disaster Management Authority in 6 weeks. Sorry, no vaccines. That's the sign up at centres across many states today as stock runs out. In fact, vaccinations today have crashed to the pre-21st June level. That's when the government's new drive had started. Reports coming in from UP, Bihar, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan, West Bengal of shortage. The centre says more vaccine stock will be sent this week. The West Bengal Chief Minister blames the centre for bias. NDTV exclusive, a key army commander on the drone attack in Jammu on Sunday saying drone warfare is not made on the roadside. This is state supported and a clear indication of Pakistan's involvement. After Priyanka Gandhi, Rahul Gandhi is currently meeting Amrinder detractor Navjot Sidhu. A 3-hour meeting between Navjot Sidhu and Priyanka Gandhi this morning. Meanwhile, Sukhbir Badal says that Sidhu is a misguided missile. Sidhu hits out at him. A new role likely for Sidhu in the Congress soon, but no response from Chief Minister Amrinder yet. A heart attack at 49. Actor Mandira Bedi's husband dies tragically, gone too soon. Family and friends mourn his sudden death. Sudden cardiac arrest. Recent deaths because of this cause worry. Monsoon stalls. No movement of the monsoon since 19th of June. There's no rain expected in Delhi, Rajasthan, Haryana for the next week as a severe monsoon deficit in these areas. A dozen mangoes sold for 1,20,000. A Mumbai businessman steps in to help out this little girl who was selling fruit to pay for online school. She can now buy a smartphone. Our lead story tonight, for the first time, the government will have to pay compensation for deaths in COVID, that is a pandemic. Currently, the government was only paying compensation for deaths in natural calamities. This came in the Supreme Court's landmark judgment, which said that COVID is like no other pandemic and must be treated differently. The centre had argued that current rules mean that compensation is only eligible for those who died because of natural calamities. The Supreme Court has also asked that the National Disaster Management Agency come up with the amount of compensation within 6 weeks. So far, nearly 4 lakh people in India have died of COVID, and those are only official figures.
At the peak of the second wave, thousands died every day, leaving families not just emotionally in tatters, but many facing financial ruin. So far, the centre has objected to paying compensation, but today the top court directed the centre to pay compensation to the victims' families. Almost 4 lakh people have died according to official data, and the number continues to rise. Rejecting centre's stand that compensation can be paid only to natural calamities, judges ordered the National Disaster Management Authority is to frame guidelines within 6 weeks. A reasonable amount is to be paid, and the NDMA will decide the quantum of money. The NDMA should have framed guidelines on compensation, but it failed. The COVID pandemic has to be viewed differently from other disasters. The judges also ordered that the death certificate of COVID victims must have the cause of death, and to also provide the system for correcting cause of death if family is not satisfied. The verdict came on 2 pleas by families who wanted compensation of 4 lakh rupees each.
कोर्ट ने यह मुआवजा राशि तय करने के लिए एनडीआरएफ को 6 वीक्स का टाइम दिया है, जिसमें कि वह एक पॉलिसी, एक गाइडलाइंस बनाएगा, जिसमें कि मुआवजा राशि के साथ साथ कैसे कैसे मुआवजा राशि का भुगतान किया जाए, यह डिसाइड किया जाएगा.
There are almost 4 lakh COVID deaths and counting, and even earlier numbers could be revised upwards as many deaths have been missed, as seen in few states. Now the question is, who will pay the compensation and how much? That's the key. In New Delhi, Arunachalam Vaidyanathan, NDTV.
And as we said, the official deaths are nearly 4 lakhs. The unofficial figures could be higher. As families have faced grief at losing their loved ones, many of them have also faced huge bills for medical amounts that were run up while the person was sick. And also in many cases, families have lost their main breadwinner. Here are some reactions from around the country on the Supreme Court's landmark order.
इस कोविड पीरियड में मैंने अपने बड़े भाई और अपनी मां को खो दिया है। आपसे रिक्वेस्ट है कि थोड़ी सी हमारी तरफ देखिए। उनका एक बेटा है 18 साल का, एक बेटी है 22 साल की, और उनके पास कोई कमाने का जरिया नहीं है। सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जो ऑर्डर किया है, मैं ये चाहूँगा कि इससे बढ़िया हमारे परिवार को थोड़ा सा और हेल्प मिले। इसके लिए
मुआवजा से हमारी जीविका चलेगी। हमारी पोती है जिसके माँ बाप भी नहीं रहे, कोई नहीं रहा, उसकी जीविका का साधन जो होगा उसके लालन पालन में काम आएगा।
ऑलमोस्ट 15 दिन हो गया अप्लाई किए हुए, लेकिन सिविल सर्जन के यहाँ भी हम लोग का अभी एप्लीकेशन नहीं पहुँचा है। तो अब यही है परेशानी, तो तकलीफ तो होती है।
And here's what the government's official reaction was to the Supreme Court order so far.
किसी भी मंत्री के लिए सुप्रीम कोर्ट के निर्णय को बिना पढ़े, उसके इम्प्लीकेशन को बिना समझे टिप्पणी नहीं करनी चाहिए। और बहुत विनम्रता से कहूंगा, देश के कानून मंत्री के रूप में कई बार आप जो ब्रेकिंग बातें चलाते हैं वो निर्णय में नहीं होता है, इसलिए निर्णय का अध्ययन करने के बाद ही बोलना चाहिए।
Well, let's just look at the latest COVID data. We're just over 45,000 cases. That's much higher than yesterday, but still below 50,000. Also, deaths in the last 24 hours have come down. They're 817, down from just over 900 yesterday. Tests have gone up by 10%. The daily positivity rate is 2.34%, up very slightly, but pretty much static. But the big worry now really remains the vaccination figures. If you just take a look at these numbers, vaccinations today have dipped far below the average of 53 lakh doses per day. We saw that high on June 21st when we were over 88 lakhs. Now see that dramatic dip now to just over 53 lakhs. And that's why in many states across the country today, outside centers, there were signs saying, sorry, no vaccines today.
These empty vaccination centers in two of India's biggest states, Uttar Pradesh and Bihar, raise crucial questions on India's vaccination drive. In Uttar Pradesh's Noida, all 34 government vaccination centers remained shut for the second consecutive day.
कई जगह में घूम के आ गया, कहीं मेरे को वैक्सीन नहीं मिल पा रही है। तो मैसेज में तो इसमें था कि वैक्सीन लगेगी, लेकिन न लगने का कोई मैसेज नहीं है, और मैं 3 हॉस्पिटल घूम के आ गया।
Noida's vaccinations dipped to 6,000 on Tuesday, while it usually conducts 20,000 daily.
Vaccination numbers across Uttar Pradesh have seen a similar dip too. They've gone from a record 8.5 lakh plus jabs on the 24th of June to just 1.8 lakh vaccinations on the 29th. Is India's most populous state conserving its vaccines?
In Patna, vaccinations have dipped from 76,000 on the 25th of June to 21,000 on Tuesday. Most of the government's 160 centers have run out of doses.
कुछ इंक्वायरी नहीं दे रहे। मैं 2 बार एक्चुअली आई हूँ, ये सेकंड टाइम है मेरा, तो इंक्वायरी नहीं दी जा रही कि कब तक वैक्सीन होगा ओपन, कब तक मुझे लगेगी वैक्सीन, तो कुछ ऐसा नॉलेज है नहीं।
Officials in Uttar Pradesh, however, claim the pace will pick up.
कल जो है कुछ कम टीके लगे हैं, परंतु ये जो जून का उत्तर प्रदेश सरकार ने लक्ष्य रखा था कि पूरे जून के महीने में 1 करोड़ टीके लगाए जाएंगे, वो लक्ष्य हम 24 जून को ही प्राप्त कर चुके हैं। और तेजी से कैपेसिटी जो क्षमता है उसको बढ़ाया जा रहा है, और 8 से 10 लाख प्रतिदिन टीके लगाने की क्षमता की जा रही है, और जुलाई में इसे बढ़ाकर 10 से 12 लाख टीके किए जाने का प्रयास किया जा रहा है।
It is unclear how. Government filings in the Supreme Court show vaccination supply dropping in July from an average of 40 lakh doses a day in June to about 38 lakhs in July. States like Delhi, Himachal Pradesh, Telangana and Chhattisgarh are likely to run short of over 1 lakh doses daily in July. The state with a 7 crore population has run dry thrice in 2 weeks. It has administered 1.56 crore doses and only 25 lakh, that is 3%, have got both doses. The short supply has hit Chennai hard.
Actually, ideally, we will like to vaccinate 1 lakh people a day. Highest though now with the available doses, about 3 days back, we did 39,000 plus on a day. On an average, we are doing 30,000 plus, provided we keep on getting, the state keeps on getting vaccine. So sometimes there are one or two, like day before yesterday, we hardly had any input of vaccines.
The government's ambitious plans of vaccinating India's entire adult population by the end of this year will end up just being empty promises like these vaccination centers if the government is unable to back its plans with enough supply of doses. Bureau report for NDTV.
Well, this coming as West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has attacked the centre over vaccine supply, saying that there's a bias in the number of vaccines that are being given to West Bengal.
Today, tomorrow, there is no vaccine with us, and whatever we have got, every vaccine is been administered. So we are asking the vaccine. They are giving vaccine some state in different way, and Bengal, they are depriving Bengal. Bengal is also a state. And I do not know why they will, every time they will defend the Bengal, and you people will discuss about atrocities of Bengal. You never discuss the atrocities of UP.
Well, moving now to an NDTV exclusive, key Army Corps commander speaks to us, speaks to Vishnu Shom, talking about the fact that the drone attack, the drone strike on an Air Force base at Jammu couldn't have happened on its own. And he said drones are not made on the roadside, but indicates state support and involvement of Pakistan.
So how serious is the threat of the drone strike in your area of responsibility? Obviously, it's a concern for everyone. How do you view this new threat which has emerged?
We are well aware that these assets, the technology to support drone warfare, it cannot be just made on the roadside. These are state-supported systems. These technologies are available with state systems, and this support which is there of state sponsors are definitely with Jaish and Lashkar.
General, is it your belief that this is an attempt to disrupt the peace that you spoke about along the LOC?
So this is the next level in which there is a greater deniability. There is a attempt to say that this is possibly internal and such like things. But we know where the idea is coming from, where the support mechanisms are coming out. We need to keep this watch on, and we need to hold them responsible.
Now, General, let's just talk about your area of responsibility. Now, I think it was the Army Chief and the Army Commander who said that the onus of holding the ceasefire is on Pakistan. Thus far, do you believe that that ceasefire is holding, that there may be some forces which may be beyond the Pakistan Army which are doing this drone business?
This will fit only till the time a major strike does not take place. We must continue to hold them responsible for the support of terrorist infrastructure.
Very important interview by Lieutenant General DB Pande there. But let's go across now. What's happening politically? Well, currently, the Congress leader Navjot Sidhu from Punjab, who's taken on the Chief Minister Amrinder Singh openly, is currently meeting with Congress leader Rahul Gandhi. Sunil, what are the implications of this meeting, given that the Chief Minister himself didn't meet with either Rahul or Priyanka when he was here last week, and this time we've seen Navjot Sidhu tweeting out pictures of his 3-hour meeting with Priyanka Gandhi and currently meeting Rahul Gandhi?
That's right, Sonia. It's a very critical meeting and very important meeting. The fact that Sidhu has met both Priyanka Gandhi Vadra as well as Rahul Gandhi, and that meeting at present is still underway with Rahul Gandhi. It definitely is an attempt to try to bury the hatchet between Captain Amrinder Singh as well as Navjot Sidhu. Both have been told by the Congress panel about certain steps that need to be taken, corrective measures, act against the land mafia, transport mafia, as well as on the sacrilege issue, apart from a host of other issues, including power agreements and everything else, for Captain Amrinder, who's also having a series of meetings with his MLAs in Chandigarh, in Patiala, to try to ensure that they are looked after and their needs are addressed, since he has been incommunicative for so long.
Is this meeting likely with Mr. Sidhu likely to upset Captain Amrinder Singh, the Chief Minister, because he hasn't responded at all on this or Arvind Kejriwal's announcement yesterday?
Well, officially he hasn't responded to both of them. But what he has definitely told the panel is that he disagreed that Sidhu is a young person, he's a crowd puller, he's an orator. Of course, he has definitely his question mark about his administrative capability, and that's why he was sidelined as a minister. That having been said, Captain Amrinder will definitely have to work with Navjot Sidhu, who is now trying to become the fulcrum against the Badals by tweeting against them on a continuous basis after he was under attack. So it's in that backdrop the Congress party will have to find some way forward if they have to fight unitedly for the elections which are due in the state election early next year.
Right, Sunil, thanks so much for that update. And let's just look at the markets. Well, the Indian equity benchmark snapped a two-day winning streak because of selling pressure in banking and financial services shares. Let's just look at those numbers. The Sensex ending 67 points down, the Nifty just about 27 points down. Well, today the core sector numbers are out today. They're up by 16.8% in May in key areas which include manufacturing, steel, natural gas. This, however, is in contrast to a low base last year in May, which was minus 21.4. So they're up by 16.8% with that low base effect as well. Moving to some tragic news. Mandira Bedi's husband, filmmaker Raj Kaushal, has died of a heart attack at the age of 49. The funeral of Mr. Kaushal was held today. Mandira Bedi, of course, a young actor, both of them extremely fit. And despite many people asking, he didn't have COVID. His funeral was held today. His friends and family have all said, gone too soon. He apparently had the cardiac arrest at 4:30 a.m. this morning and he couldn't be revived. So tragedy there of another young man dying of a cardiac arrest, again with no pre-existing health symptoms there at all. And this comes just months after the tragic death also of Bird Group's Ankur Bhatia, again a young man in his late 40s who died of a tragic heart attack. So many questions being raised at why young people are dying at this age because of heart attacks. Here's what doctors are saying.
Are COVID restrictions leading to unhealthy lifestyles? While the focus on health has increased, doctors say the restrictions have created their own set of challenges. Those who have not been infected are also at higher risk. Like 30-year-old Sandeep Yadav, who thought he was fit till he fell ill. Last year in September, he was admitted to the Asian Heart Institute after suffering a heart attack.
मेरी तबीयत अचानक खराब हो गई और मैं हार्ट रोग से ग्रसित था. मैंने मुंबई एशियन हार्ट इंस्टीट्यूट में अपने हार्ट का बाईपास सर्जरी कराया. मुझे काफ़ी आराम है.
In last 1.5 years, the subset of patient increasing in number is this younger lot in that 30s to 50, almost you can say about 10 to 15% increase in as compared to the previous years. Now, this type of the patient is all exclusively because of the lifestyle change induced by the corona.
According to the Indian Heart Association, estimates suggest that India accounts for approximately 60% of the world's heart disease burden, despite having less than 20% of the world's population. Heart disease was the #1 cause of mortality even before COVID-19. Doctors say they have observed during the COVID pandemic, screen time has increased and so has sedentary lifestyles. While food intake has increased, levels of physical activity have decreased. Also, the pandemic has added to mental stress and depression, all reasons for heart attacks. Also at risk, asymptomatic COVID patients who have had the infection but don't know that the body is dealing with its after effects. Doctors treating heart diseases say not just COVID-19, but the entire atmosphere during the pandemic has put people at an increased risk of heart diseases. The solution, they say, lies in finding ways to exercise and follow a healthy lifestyle and diet, even while adhering to COVID-19 restrictions. In Mumbai, with camera person Sanjay Mandal, Saurabh Gupta, NDTV.
Well, a quick look at other news. The monsoon has stalled. There's been no movement at all since the 19th of June. And bad news as Delhi is seeing a heat wave. And in Rajasthan and parts of Haryana, there's going to be no rain expected for the next week as well. The overall monsoon is 10% above normal so far. And officials are playing down the impact on crops. But there is a worrying monsoon deficit in some parts. Kerala, where the monsoon hit first, is 36% less than average. In Delhi, it's minus 52% and yet to hit.